Welcome to For Your Amusement, a theme park podcast that aims to exhaustively evaluate the world's most popular theme park attractions to determine if they are world class. I'm Ryan Bergara.
I'm Byron Marin.
And for today's featured attraction, we fly to Neverland to discuss Peter Pan's flight at Disneyland, Magic Kingdom, Tokyo Disneyland, Disneyland Paris, and Shanghai Disneyland. That was a lot. And joining us atop Skull Rock is a former cast member and now a creator and also host of the People It Takes podcast, Lauryn Squyres. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's always an honor to have a cast member in the Tiki Room because Byron and I like to think of ourselves as experts, but we haven't walked the walk, so to speak. So
we haven't been in the trenches.
We have not been in the trenches taking grenades, as I imagine.
Or taking photographs in front of Magic Kingdom or any of that.
It's about the same, yeah.
So thank you for joining us. And as always, please like and subscribe to keep us alive. If you're watching the video version over on youtube.com/@FYIApod, or if you're listening to the audio version, subscribe and rate the podcast 5 stars. And consider supporting us on our Fourth Wall, which is a different version of Patreon. You can join our Fourth Wall and become a park hopper, as we're calling it, by heading to FYApod.com. Not only will it help us keep this madness going, but you'll also get up to 3 monthly bonus shows, in addition to the free main show you're tuning into right now. And finally, FYApod.com is where our merch store is. But now that all the housekeeping is done, once again, thank you for joining us in the Tiki Room, Lauryn. By the way, I've been loving your podcast premise is so clever. For those who don't know, the People It Takes podcast, it is a podcast that exclusively interviews cast members and the people that it takes to run the parks, the people behind the scenes that make all the stuff go. I love that premise. I just wanted to just briefly shout that out.
And it looks like a much more comfortable setting than ours.
That is true.
I think I actually texted like Ryan a few months ago. I'm like, why are we doing this in the Tiki Room? Like, we could just like clip some DJIs on us and
just go out into the
DJIs
park.
and like that looks so cool.
I mean, I would love to have a studio, but it's kind of hard to get people across the country.
Yes, it is.
So I travel to them, so it's like it's a little more low key, but that's mainly because I don't have the space for it.
No, trust me, at some point we're going to have to package up this tiny Tiki Room and put it somewhere. I'm just going to, we'll be kind of bohemian in that sense, but you are on your way to Orlando eventually, right? I don't know if you want to disclose
I am. That's the plan.
God, what did that be?
No for sure's yet, but hopefully.
That would be the dream. I don't think I could go live in Orlando personally, just because it would ruin my life. It would it would be like having like it would be like having like an alcoholic set up shop in a liquor store. Like there's no way that I would not be at every park every day until I eventually just withered away into nothing. I just have no self-control. It's a true addiction.
That's so valid. Yeah,
I respect that.
I've considered being bi-coastal before.
Yeah,
but it turns out that doubles your rent, and
well, not to mention also, doubles your rent and all the airfare,
and I can't say I have that many points. So
now, Lauryn, a little background on you. As we mentioned, you were a former cast member. You also did the Disney College program, which I've always had curiosity about. Could you just, we don't have to get into it too deep, but I'm just kind of curious what those experiences were like.
Organized chaos. That's like the best way I would describe it. Completely life-changing, definitely once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I highly recommend. I know everyone has their own experience with it. A lot of people love it, a lot of people hate it. I personally think it is what you make it of it, but I had the most amazing time. I also had the most amazing role I could have asked for, and got lucky with great roommates, great friends, and so just a great experience overall. It was just kind of a crazy, surreal thing to be living on Disney property, working on Disney property, being surrounded by Disney like all the time.
Full immersion.
So it's a little creepy in a sense. You kind of feel like you're definitely in a bubble, and you kind of forget about the outside world, which is a little bit like, this feels a little odd, like a little bit off, but
especially when your roommate is Mickey and Goofy and Donald, as I assume. Or I mean, unless it was, maybe it wasn't a co-ed facility, but I imagine maybe Mickey and Daisy. And also you in the college program, from what I've gathered from your podcast, that you actually had the rare opportunity to be a PhotoPass, practitioner, is a PhotoPasser. Photographer.
Yes.
I can't believe
got it. There you go.
I forgot the name of a person who takes photos.
You were so close. Yeah, you got
I
it.
went with practitioner. But you were a PhotoPass photographer in Galaxy's Edge, which
Yes.
apparently requires much more extensive training, and you were able to do that pretty early in your tenure.
I was, yeah, like a month in, I guess 2 months in. I started in May, and by July, they actually asked me to be a part of the Galaxy's Edge team, which was like, tears were shed that morning. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a dream.
Yeah, so it took like a month of training, and you go through like very separate training because you're learning the storylines and how to respond to guests and all this new language, and you're talking a different way, but it was just incredible. That was like the highlight. That's to this day my favorite place I've worked.
Oh man, I can't even imagine. Also, just spending like clocking in for your 9 to 5, and you're like, I need 10 pictures of Chewbacca on my desk by noon.
You literally.
That's some pretty cool stuff right there. That's the paperwork I want to be filling.
Is there a world, Lauren, where you could clock out and then just walk right into the cantina, like after like going backstage, I guess? And like,
Are you asking Lauren
No.
if she drank on the job?
not on. No, I'm saying I said clock out.
Well,
After
I
you
mean, like,
clock
is it
out.
still drinking on the job if you're drinking at your job, even though technically you're clocked out? I feel like
I don't know. That's a pub. Isn't it public? I don't know. It's public space. Anyway, it's the Disney College program.
I guess. Well, I mean, she can't really say it. Like, if she walked in and they'd be like, "Don't you work here?" and was she going to be like, "It's a free country"?
No, I'm not saying like you like be dressed up and like walk straight. Like I'm saying like yeah. I don't know how it works.
Sorry, I
No, that's not quite. I wish that was a thing, but no, that was not a thing.
Okay,
makes
what about
sense.
the World Showcase? I'm joking. No.
What about the world? No.
Byron, you air out your addictions some other time. His hands are
I have
shaking
no
while
such
holding the
thing. It was
clipboard.
just simple curiosity.
No, that's fair. It's a valid. I feel like we get asked that all the time if we just like walk back into the parks after work. I know a lot of people do, but you're technically not allowed to. That's a big no.
Oh, wait, to just attend the parks after your shift is over, or drink on
To
property?
go like from backstage onto stage
yeah.
after you've clocked out. So you have to like exit the park, clock out, and then go and enter like everyone else.
Yeah, you have to be in
Okay.
like, like the a commoner clothing, like your
Right,
clothing
yeah.
that you would wear as a human, not
Exactly.
That makes sense. I don't want to get tackled by Goofy, which I imagine would be
Oh,
fun
exactly.
though, because he'd make funny noises.
I took a very indirect way to get to that answer.
Fair enough. We are here to talk about Peter Pan's flight, though. So when we ask guests to come on this show, we ask them, I typically will say, could you name 5 attractions that you'd like to cover, just in case we've already filmed one that hasn't come out yet or whatnot. And Peter Pan, that was in your top 5. And I immediately was like, we got to do that one. So why Peter Pan?
Oh, because it's like, I feel like Peter Pan is the Disney movie. Like, it's the one that hits everyone with nostalgia,
Yeah.
like, no matter
Yeah.
what. It's just like, you couldn't have Disneyland or Disney without Peter Pan. Like, even World of Color, the old TV show, Tinkerbell was the main mascot of it. So I feel like that's kind of influenced all of Disney in a way. So that's probably why.
And is most of your experience with the Magic Kingdom version or the Disneyland version, or maybe others?
Disneyland.
Oh, interesting.
Disneyland. Yeah, I grew up going to Disneyland, so that was always my home park.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. I thought your home park was Disney World.
No. My first time going to Disney World was 3 years ago, the year before I did the college program, but I had never been before that.
Oh my god. So where were you like? Was your family SoCal then?
So Southern Oregon, so like
see.
an 11-hour drive down there.
Not worth it.
Cake.
No, that's nothing.
You're going to Neverland. It's worth it.
That's worth it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And with that, why don't we jump into some first impressions? Do you remember what your first impression was when you got on Peter Pan's flight? I imagine we were all very wee children when that happened.
Yeah, I had to be. I think my first visit to Disneyland was 1 or 2.
Oh wow.
Maybe not even a full year, honestly. It's one of those things where you can't really remember if you're actually remembering it or if you're remembering it from like the photographs. Because I know we have a ton of photographs.
I have that all the time. I have like, I think sometimes I have my earliest memories are at Disneyland, but then I'm wondering, is that just because of like the home videos I was watching?
Right, exactly. But first impression, I just remember it being like the coolest thing ever because it did feel like, it felt real and it feels like you're flying over London and everything. And
I get that. I mean, like, also, it's one of the few Fantasyland, like, pretzel dark rides that feels open. All the other ones are very claustrophobic. You're on, like, a track. There's, like, not wooden, but there's, like, the cardboard flats that are just, like, kind of, like...
plywood cutouts.
Yeah, they're just kind of, like, hugging you in a way that's a little disturbing, which plays into some of the darker subject matter. But Peter Pan, it's, like, the open concept of the ride world.
Well, I think this one exclusively, when it first was built, like... they built those characters and set pieces like in 3D, whereas the other fantasy rides, like you said, were the plywood, just
the plywood, like
flat.
fair cutouts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like Disneyland, I feel like the Peter Pan ride doesn't have like any cutouts. I feel like it's all very 3D sculpted.
Everything's very rendered.
Yeah.
Also, the line in Magic Kingdom's incredible too. We could get into that later. Byron, what was your first impression? Because you also went to Disneyland quite young.
God, this would have been really young. I did get, I think, a text.
Oh, you asked your mom, Mrs. Marin.
I did. This is something I tend to do when I can't remember certain attractions, Lauren, because I was so young. Let's see what we got here. I don't have a lot on this one. All she said was, "You were a toddler and loved it, but were a bit scared of the dark rides. I remember your eyes wide open, peering over the flying boat, and as always, I had an arm on you just in case you got dangerously close to the edge." This was like a common theme for me. I'd often get lost at theme parks as a little kid. I'd, try and wander the side of the ride, so curious.
You're walking to the edge and going, what's the ride capacity on this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I don't think I was quite there yet.
In a little suit.
But yeah, I mean, as like earliest impressions, like I remember being wowed by this ride. I think it's so interesting, Lauren, that you bring up the effect that it had on you, because I thought like earlier this week, like, oh, we're covering Peter Pan. Like, I wonder like if like the generations before us, like if this ride's just so old now that it's just not as awesome as what I thought of as a kid.
Yeah.
But then again, this ride opened in 1955. We rode it for the first time in the 90s, so it still had like almost like 40 years of life to get there, and it still had that impact. I
often wonder this about, especially like these Fantasyland rides. Like, I often wonder, is this actually a banger or is this nostalgia? And I don't know if that's, it's kind of hard to separate that when this is one of your core memories. And I mean,
but no matter what it is, it seems like kids, when they're first introduced to Disneyland,
they want to get on that Peter Pan.
It still has that effect.
And well, it's evidenced by the 8-hour waits that are at this ride every single time in every park, by the way. By the way, also, I don't want to put you on blast, Byron, but didn't you apply to the Disney College program?
No. I was actually going to ask you if you even knew what the Disney College program was back in college.
It was.
I did not.
Okay.
And I gotta say, like, I didn't quite have like the international travel bug back in college, so I never studied abroad. I didn't do my backpacking and stuff like that till after college. However, had I known that a Disney college program existed and I'd have the chance to like spend a semester's worth of time at Disney World, I don't know. I might have called you up and been like, "Hey, you wanted to like let's do this," or I would have been very tempted to do that. But I didn't know that the Disney College program existed while I was in college.
Damn. I mean, I knew of it. I just was too scared to do it because I didn't want to peek behind Oz's curtain and see how the sausage was made.
Oh, and by the way, if I applied, I would have got in. Like, let's be real.
Okay, well, I don't know if you could say that for sure.
I could say that.
You would have sent them
Wishful
your crazy
thinking.
like cover
Wishful
letter
thinking.
manifesto made out of cutout magazine letters.
And
they would have been like, "Well, do we want to accept the Joker into into our college program? I don't know."
Yeah, like I was saying, here are my thoughts on how you can improve the operations.
Yeah,
I'd love to get in there and improve
give them
guest experience.
Yeah, I don't know.
Which, by the way, I told you recently, I went to Universal, Lauren, and at like they often have like someone at the exit of the park that's like, "Oh, like, would you like to like step aside and like give us your thoughts on your experience today?"
Right.
And they made the mistake of approaching me, and I'm like, I usually I'm like no, but like a couple things like kind of, irked me that day.
You had time that day.
And I seriously started walking away, and I turned back and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, take me in there. I have a few thoughts. And I spent half an hour, the managers ended up coming over and overhearing it. And they're like, oh, yes, please tell us more. And they're like,
that's a good idea.
Because I was very passionate about my thoughts of the crowd flow in regards to the Transformers ride. But anyways.
They are actually valid thoughts, by the way.
Yeah, long story short, they make you miss the entire interesting points of the queue only to let you sit for an hour in a boring hallway. But
yeah,
fun.
Anyways, Peter Pan.
Yeah, we don't get Byron stuck in this topic, otherwise you'll just start twitching.
Never end.
Peter Pan for me, yeah, like you guys, I was but a wee child. I think I might have been 3 because that was the first time I ever went to Disneyland, and I would have to assume I got on Peter Pan. I don't know if I remember it from that trip, but I do remember it from subsequent trips after. And like Lauren was saying, it just felt more real than the other Fantasyland rides, I would say. And also, just as a kid, one of the things you want to do is you want to experience the miracle of flight. That's half the appeal of Peter Pan, because when you break it down at face value, having this guy in tights can be you want to live with me forever and be a kid forever. It's kind of creepy. But he's like, I could fly. Now I'm like, okay, I'll go out that window with you. But the ride is great. It's a core memory. I feel like it's a core memory for any Disney fan, theme park fan, to be on that boat, look out the side of it, see London down below. There's really, I don't know. That room also feels very well air conditioned, to be honest, and it just feels great. Whenever I'm in there, I'm like, this is refreshing. This feels like I'm out for a brisk night stroll. But I like it a lot, obviously. So yeah, that was my first impression. It was a core memory.
Do you think a part of why it makes such good core memories for kids is especially back when we all rode it and they didn't sanitize all these Fantasyland dark rides back in the day?
Oh, back when they were scary, you mean?
That, yeah, Peter Pan was probably the only one that didn't feel like a semi horror ride.
Yeah,
that's
honestly
true, because Mr. Toad, you go to hell. Pinocchio, you have to interact with Monstro.
Pleasure Island
is scary.
I want
Pleasure
my
Island
mommy. I was oh my
terrifying.
god, that donkey, kills me every time. That donkey that's in the cage is I want my mother or whatever, and
that donkey just hadn't found its Shrek yet. And also obviously Snow White's Scary Adventures, no introduction needed there. An absolute horror show. Yeah, that's a good point. Peter Pan was the only one that was hey, maybe we don't traumatize our children in Fantasyland.
Yeah. Honestly.
Because I couldn't.
Well, Alice in Wonderland too. That one's not too scary.
That's true.
Yeah, I guess you have the little Queen of Hearts moment, but it's kind of funny. They're using little guys as croquet balls. So that's what they call it, right? Croquet?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
Nice, nailed it. Well, let's move on to some history. Byron, how did this come to be? It's a day one attraction.
I know. I was going to say, is this the first day one attraction? But then I realized Mr. Toad.
Mr. Toad, yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is the second opening day Disneyland attraction we're covering on this podcast.
I'm very excited.
In November of 1902, The Little White Bird by Scottish novelist J.M. Barrie was published. Sporting a variety of short stories and characters, the middle chapters of this novel would introduce the character of Peter Pan, a newborn baby who escapes the confines of his nursery to pursue a future in flying alongside mythical fairies and perhaps never growing up. J.M. Barrie would go on to further evolve the character to headline what would become his famous stage play, Peter Pan, which debuted in London on December 27th of 1904. From there, production of the play and its titular character would make its way to Broadway and tour across the United States, with occasional stops in humbler settings such as, let's just go with Marceline, Missouri, where two boys by the name of Roy and Walter Disney would bust open their piggy bank in order to get tickets for the show. Needless to say, Walt Disney was transported to Neverland, and although Paramount Pictures would release a silent film adaptation in 1924, Disney would buy the rights from them in 1938, with the intent of adapting Peter Pan into an animated feature. Following an elongated production pause due to World War II, Peter Pan would finally get made and ultimately released on February 5th of 1953. The film became a critical and commercial success, which was great timing for Walt Disney, who at the time had his sights set on the development and construction of his riskiest project ever, Disneyland. In addition to designing and drawing the original concept map for this game-changing theme park, legendary artist and Imagineer Herb Ryman would take on the responsibility of developing concepts for a Peter Pan fly-through attraction. Various other Imagineers such as Marvin Davis, Bill Martin, Ken Anderson, and Claude Coates would contribute to the project, and through working with the Cleveland Tramrail Company, created a ride system that would differentiate itself from the rest of the opening Fantasyland attractions. On July 17th of 1955, Peter Pan's flight would open with the rest of Disneyland. The recent release of the hit animated film, combined with the unique and creative ride design, would make Peter Pan's flight an instant favorite for park guests. Although little has changed in regards to the ride's demand over its nearly 70 years of existence, various changes and new versions have been sprinkled like fairy dust across the globe, so that Peter Pan can continue to set sail with thousands of riders to Neverland every day for endless years to come. These additional iterations exist at the following Disney parks: Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom, which opened on October 3rd of 1971, just 2 days after the park's grand opening; Tokyo Disneyland, which opened with the park on April 15th of 1983; Disneyland Paris, which opened with the park on April 12th of 1992; and Shanghai Disneyland, which also opened with that park on June 16th of 2016.
By the way, I haven't looked into what the stuff at Fantasy Springs looks like yet, because I'm going soon. But I do know Peter Pan is heavily featured. I cannot wait.
Yes.
It's gonna be
and
crazy.
what's really funny is that's different from the Tokyo Disneyland. So there are technically two Peter Pans, I think, at this point.
Oh,
That's crazy.
One in Tokyo Disneyland, one in Disney Sea.
our guy gets around.
Like you, I don't know anything else about the Disney Sea. I'm trying to stay away from the spoilers, but I'm excited for you.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, Lauren, are you similar to us in that, like, I refuse to experience something through like a ride POV for the first time?
Yeah, absolutely not.
'Cause
absolutely not.
I still haven't been on Tiana's, and I cannot wait to get on it because I don't want to watch any POV footage and have it ruined for me.
Honestly, I watched the POV that Disney put out.
I don't know why they did that.
Oh, it was so bad. Like, after I had gone on the cast preview, I went and watched the POV, and it just kind of ruins it. It's like they do such a poor job of capturing like what it's actually like writing it, because the camera doesn't move at all to look around. It's just like straight ahead, and it's.
I was
not
shocked
worth it.
when the algorithm like threw it in my face on YouTube, and I was like, well, I like seeing that it was like from Disney parks. I was like, in that thumbnail, I was like, oh God, like
Honestly,
I shut it off. I never.
It did
I
a bit
never
of a
clicked
disservice. It didn't really do that thing that eyeballs do, in that they move from side to side.
Oh.
they don't just like, they aren't just mounted on the front of a log.
yeah.
Although I'm excited to ride it November 15th. I think, well, this episode actually might be out by the time we ride.
That would be crazy.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I honestly can't wait. It's always such a treat when you get to experience a brand new ride, attraction, park, land, any of those things. I look forward to that stuff. It really keeps me going.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm pumped. Just going down that flume drop in the middle of November.
That's going to be nice.
Oh,
Nice and brisk.
burr.
Yeah, burr.
And then, you know what, like pretty much history segment done. I will add some notable changes to the original version at Disneyland. 1957, Peter Pan finally gets included. This was pretty like par for the course for Fantasyland attractions back in the mid-19, like when they first opened, where they wanted to, the Imagineers wanted to take guests like through like the POV of the main character, but that ended up just confusing a lot of people. With like, why am I not seeing the character of the?
Yeah, I came on the
Yeah,
Peter Pan
because
ride.
Yeah, why don't I see
You were
Peter
still
Pan?
on a pirate ship too, so it's like that doesn't make sense. Like maybe if you were on
That's a good point,
strapped
right?
into something, but
If you were truly Peter Pan, yeah, you would be flying. You wouldn't be on the pirate
Right.
ship. That's a good point.
exactly.
You should go back in time
Yeah.
and be
You're like,
like,
hey guys, wait.
let's rethink this for a variety of reasons.
Irby, what are you doing, mate?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, like, because Toad was that way, so was Snow White.
Toad I could buy because that's the ride vehicle I could like see as being the best like POV.
Well, that one's funny because it makes you drunk drive.
Yeah.
Just like, it's crazy that they're like, we're going to put you in this scenario and kill you.
So that happened in 1957. They like finally put Peter Pan in there. 1960, Yale Gracie was in charge of redesigning characters and set pieces. And Bob Gurr supposedly worked on the ride system to make it quieter, because I think like when it originally opened, like those motors and everything and the rails, you could very much hear it.
Yes.
To a certain extent, you still kind of can, but they improved that. And then
it has charm to it.
Yeah, it's it shows its age a little bit.
I like that.
Yeah. There's a major new Fantasyland refurbishment in 1982. That was Fantasyland at large, but with Peter Pan, they updated the facades to actually look like an authentic English village, because back, once again, when it originally opened, they had kind of the cheap-looking medieval tents.
Yes.
Same with Mr. Toad. So they updated that. They expanded the layout of the ride, making it actually longer. And then one of the biggest notable changes since that 82 refurbishment was in 2015, I believe, is when they added all those projections and stuff like that.
Yes. Some enhancements for the, what was it, the 60th?
Yes, it was for the 60th anniversary.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then to jump coast, because I know we're going to have some Disney World fans who are like, what about our Peter Pan? I think it was like, I think 2014 or 2015, right? Somewhere around there, they did a major update to the queue.
The queue is incredible.
And it's, if there's one thing they got on us with that iteration, that is the queue, which I didn't know existed until I wrote it like a year ago at Disney World. And I was like, what the hell? I am cooking out here in California in this one. And over there you get to hang out like in the Darling Children's room and watch the Pixie like Tinkerbell fly around and all that cool stuff.
It's pretty awesome.
A really cool addition. Also, I think in the early years at Disneyland, they did like an extension of like the Peter Pan universe. They had like Skull Rock at the back of Fantasyland.
Oh, I saw pictures of that.
They had a Jolly Roger ship.
It looks awesome.
And then I think, what ride was it that got rid of? They basically moved it because they moved Dumbo over to where those originally. So where Dumbo is today, I believe, is where they had the Skull Rock and Jolly Roger.
Oh, I didn't know that's where it was. I thought the Skull Rock was actually kind of where the Tomorrowland Lagoon was, but I realize now that was just the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yeah, I think so. So
where did they have the mermaid situated? Because I remember one of the things that they had to change was they had live actor
the mermaids.
I
thought those
and there were dudes who were jumping over the
was...
railing trying to swim to go say hi to them. And I was like, never change, guys.
That was with the submarines, right?
They didn't
was
have,
it? Yeah, it was. I thought it was the submarines, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
I believe it's like, for example, I think they have like the Finding Nemo birds and like the octopus like out there on those rocks now. I think that's where that was the area where they used to lay on the rocks. And
shockingly, no dudes jumping over the railings trying to go say hi to the octopus. But they got to get out there and say hi.
Scaling a submarine.
I've never seen a mermaid before.
They didn't have apps or anything back in the day. I don't freaking know what they're doing.
That's true, I guess. Moving on. Actually, you know what? This is going to be very fun for this ride, because this is the part where we guess the average wait time of this ride historically and the largest wait time of all time. Lauren, you're the guest here. We'll give you the first crack. What do you think the average wait time of this ride is? And what is the largest wait time it's ever seen?
I'd say average would be 65 minutes.
Oh, man.
For the Disneyland version?
For the Disneyland version.
Yeah.
What about Disney World?
Oh, Disney World. Oh, gosh. 85?
Yeah, I don't actually know which one's more popular. They're all popular. I don't want to Price is Right you. But I actually think 90 for Disney World. And I think I'm going to go 80 for Disneyland.
Like longest?
No, for average.
Oh, for average? Okay.
This is average, right?
So the average wait times for Disneyland, you got 34 minutes.
No way.
What?
There's no way.
And for Magic Kingdom, you have 56.
That's BS. There's no way.
Now,
did Disney put that out?
Yeah.
This was
like, honestly,
this was
that comes from Peter Pan himself.
I was a little surprised myself.
This is thrillldata.com.
This is thrillldata.com. We could cross-check with
Are there quotes around data?
And also, you got it. Like a lot of their data is like mainly from like 2017 and
Even
beyond.
still, though,
Think about it this way. I think Disneyland is consistently a 45-minute wait.
I've never seen it under an hour. Really, for the most part.
More times than not, it's under an hour.
What?
When I see it.
Oh, let's look at it right
When
now.
do you go?
Check the app.
Let's check the app.
I go at all the best times.
Oh, it's 35 minutes right now.
Oh shit. Let me see what. Is it at Disneyland or Disney World?
Disneyland. Wow, you can't see that, but it's 35 minutes.
You beat me on the quick draw.
I know because I try and get on this ride all the time, and I'm always left at the 45. Dang it! Like I'd say more often than not, it's around 45, and that means it leaves the door open for the occasional end of the night or rope drop situation where it's going to be 30 minutes or less. So initially, I did think the 34 was too high, but I could actually believe it.
You know what it is too? Is the 35 minutes on Peter Pan at Disneyland in particular feels like an hour.
Yes, exactly.
Because
That's
there's
fair.
no
Yeah.
queue. You're just, most of it, you're actually in the sun. And then there's that one part, and we'll talk about this later. But anyways, I want to know what the top time is. This must be wild. Oh, they have to cap it though, because you can't have the queue extended
the
to the
thing is,
land.
I stopped jotting down the top times. Like I do remember when I looked this morning, I think it was like around 200 minutes or so. But the thing
Quick
is,
math, that's 3.5 hours about.
I feel like
3 hours, 20 minutes.
I'm a little more skeptical, especially when it comes to the top, like the highest recorded wait times for these rides, because all that takes is like one person essentially going and like messing with the system. Like, whereas like that one data point is not going to, like, upon like thousands and thousands of inputs, is not going to make a difference really in the all-time average. But all it takes is like a few people to be like, oh yeah, it was like 500 minutes this day. And then
I see.
So unless I see like photo proof, like a screenshot of the app saying that, or like a photo of like the standby like wait time, I don't take those online as seriously anymore, unless
that's the 4-year amusement difference right there.
Because I noticed we did them in the early episodes, and then I was thinking like, and I would actually like look at like points of the day, you could see where they like registered it, and it would just be this one little blip, and everyone else recording it was nowhere near that.
Now, I actually, Lauren, you might be able to answer this question because you were actually a cast member. I was under the impression that this actually does have a max wait time at some point, because at Disneyland in particular, they can't just have like a line of people spilling out into Fantasyland. So they actually will at some point cap the line. Am I mistaken?
I didn't know that.
I honestly don't know. I don't know that I've ever seen that happen, but I've never seen the dark rides that long either.
That's true.
I'm thinking of like Pandora or something that would be like, those Flight of Passage.
Those lines are crazy for Flight of Passage when they have you down that bridge.
Yeah, but they just wrap everyone around there, so I've never seen them cap a line, honestly.
Yeah, you might be right. Maybe I just have never seen it. And I just assumed like they probably capped this at some point because people want to be seeing Pan. All right, it's time for some fun facts. You had mentioned this a little bit in your history, Byron, but the ride is a little over 3 minutes long at the original expanded version over in Disneyland, but also in Disneyland Paris, which is a near clone of it. But everywhere else, it's 2.5 minutes. And I did not realize that we actually have a longer version at Disneyland, and that's because of that 1982 expansion that you were referring to, I imagine.
Oh, wild.
But like we also mentioned, Walt Disney World has a far superior queue to pretty much anywhere. Well, I haven't seen Fantasy Springs. I imagine. No, that's a completely different attraction, right?
Different ride.
Oh, amazing! It has a top speed that for some reason I could not find, so I don't even know why I brought that up. I don't know how fast this thing goes, but I do know that it could go faster or slower. They could actually turn up the speed if they want. Mm-hmm. Which, why don't we do this ride at 5x speed just for fun? Just like one day, it's like today you're really gonna fly. You'll get
airtime. That thing drops.
Yeah, it has drops. That's right. But I couldn't find the top speed. This ride has an infamously low rider capacity. Apparently, only 800 riders per hour, but that might be generous. Because typically Fantasyland dark rides running at 500 to 600 people per hour. They're not exactly chugging along.
I sat like.
Did you actually count this, Byron?
One day I did, yeah.
For an hour, you sat there
No,
and
not
count-
for an hour. I did it like pretty much the duration. I was like, wait, basically I let it run like 20 to 30 cycles, and then I like took that average, and it came out to something around like 500 to 600.
That makes more sense. So yeah, that's typically
Maybe
what
it was a slow,
Fantasyland
but
is.
once I don't know. Maybe it was a slow day. Like
I saw on one list it was like on the list of all attractions in Disneyland Resort, it's like number 50 something in terms of capacity.
it's not great. Disney World's is better because they have like the moving walkway, kind of like Haunted Mansion
Yeah,
for loading.
I see.
And then I think the international parks actually may fit more guests in their
Had no idea.
or they might have 2 rows. I'm not like, don't quote me on that. I'll have to check. But
No, I've heard that.
Yeah.
I think that's true.
I could not find a cost for this ride, but it was an opening day attraction, so probably looped into that cost. The ride uses forced perspective to achieve the feeling of flying up higher than you actually are when you're just coasting over the foggy town. A little trivia time here, guys. How high are you from the ground actually in that flying over London scene in feet?
5 feet.
5 feet.
less than 1 shack.
Less than 1 shack. You're gonna go at 7 feet.
No. I was saying that Lauren's answer, but Ryan likes to measure things in shacks.
That's right.
As in the height of Shaquille O'Neal, which
Metrics
is
of
7
Shaquille O'Neal's.
So that would be
I
less
see.
than 1 shack length.
He's 7'1".
I'm gonna go with
That's a little over a shack.
yeah. Let's see, because I think the track is about 16 feet, which
Yeah.
means where you're at in the boat. Let's go 10 feet.
The correct answer is 17 feet, or just a little it's about 2.5 shacks.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the question: is that where how far the track is off the ground, or how far the passengers are off the ground?
Yeah.
All I saw was the data says that you are about 17 feet off the ground in this room.
Wow.
So I don't know if that means like,
Because I'd heard that the track was like 16 feet off the ground or something like that.
I don't know if we're going heads to ground or heels to ground, but 17 feet, call it what it is. I'm not really sure. Look, Byron, you may be closer, but for my money, it's 2.5
I mean,
shacks.
it's not a wrong answer. It's not a wrong answer.
2.5
Let's go
shacks is the answer.
shacks. But I'm actually curious now which one, if the passenger is, if that's the passenger or the track. But
Seeing as how this is an opening day attraction, they used very, very practical kind of little magician effects almost on this ride. Speaking of that flying room, in the flying scene, the cars that are driving below, it's always fun when you're up there. You see the little cars, the lights of the cars, driving
That's
in
right, they
on the
move.
street. How they accomplish that effect is a bicycle chain with glow-in-the-dark drops of paint. And that's the car.
No
that's the car
way.
lights. And it's just a bicycle chain that's moving around on the physical set. Very cool.
That's amazing.
Crazy.
There's a hidden Mickey on the moon in the flying scene if you look at it at the right time. It's in the form of 3 craters on the moon's surface. But an even cooler hidden Mickey, and this is actually one of my favorite hidden Mickeys, maybe in the entire resort. It's actually on the backside of Big Ben, and it's not just a Mickey head. It's a full Mickey silhouette. It's like a little guy, and he's in the back of Big Ben.
He's waving at
He's
you.
waving
yeah.
at you. I did not know that until this research. Now every time I go on that, I'm gonna be waving back. It's gonna be like, I see you, Mickey. I don't know if his scale makes any sense, to be honest.
No, he's huge.
He's kind of huge.
Honestly.
Like if I could see the full silhouette of Mickey waving, that's got to be like a cast member inside that Mickey costume. There's no, because he's a mouse. So I don't know if the scale makes any sense at all. But hey, it's a talking mouse. I guess that goes out the window. Speaking of hidden famous folks, there's actually a very famous hidden Disney character in this ride. You guys know who it is? It's not from Peter Pan.
Famous Disney character. Oh gosh.
Think of the places you fly over and the cast of characters you see. Who would fit that criteria? I'm gonna say it, and you both are gonna make a noise that's like, "Of course."
Is this someone from Alice?
No,
That's what. Oh, okay.
So like London based.
no,
Okay.
not as far as I know.
I'm trying to see how these correlate.
What?
You want me? You give up? You want me to tell you?
Is it Winnie the Pooh?
No, that would be awesome.
I was
I was like, wait.
I kind of wanted it to be.
It'd be so good.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
It's Ariel from The Little Mermaid.
What?
Ariel is in this
Yeah.
ride. So in Walt Disney World, back when they did some sort of refurbishment, I think it was like in 2018 or something like that, they people were constantly asking the cast members if one of the mermaids in the Mermaid Lagoon was Ariel. And the cast members were like, I don't know, not really. And when they redid the ride for refurbishment, the Imagineers just painted that mermaid to have Ariel's like purple clamshell bra, and it's Ariel. So that is officially Ariel. And also in the Disneyland version, there is a tiny Ariel hidden in the Mermaid Lagoon under the rainbow when you're flying over Neverland.
Oh, no way.
So like if you, and you could see those both if you're watching the video version of this, there's a guy who has a video and he's looking for the Ariel in Disneyland. He's like, there she is!
Like under the rainbow. Under the rainbow by the rockwork. She is right there. There she is.
She's right there! And she's very tiny. That scale makes sense, to be fair. But yeah, Ariel's hidden in both versions of those rides. Disneyland, less obvious. Magic Kingdom, they were like, there she is. She's right there.
Right there.
I'm so glad you saved me from saying Pocahontas.
Yeah. No. I mean, they did make some changes to that scene, rightfully so.
Yeah, I know. That's what I reminded me of that.
The blocks in the nursery scene actually spell Disney, just, in case you forget where you are. The queue in the Magic Kingdom has a portion where you actually go inside the Darling House and see really cool scenes. One scene is a shadow room where you see the Peter Pan shadow, the famous one, as well as your own shadows. That's not unique to that room. You could see your shadow anywhere. You just stand in front of a light source. But in this particular room, you could see your shadow interact with those other shadows. There are hanging bells that are in shadow form. And if you put your shadow up, you could play the shadow bells with your shadow. It's a crazy effect. I don't know how they do it. Really cool stuff there. I actually have never seen this in person. Lauren, have you had the chance to see this?
Yeah, and we went for a Christmas party over there during my program.
Oh my God.
And the queue was emptied out because the ride had been shut down. So it was just my family in there. So we were just messing around with all the shadow things and watching Tinkerbell come out, and that was fun.
Did you guys do any covers? Like, did you play any like Hell's Bells or something like that?
No, I could barely reach him, honestly.
Oh, I see.
I'm a little bit short, but
hey, I could have never told.
I
wouldn't. You never could tell on the video.
If it moved at the Disneyland clip, then maybe you'd have the time to get the notes right.
Yeah.
But
right.
You move along a little faster there. I think I remember the Tinkerbell like goes into the box, right? And like the box shakes.
Yeah, in the drawer.
I was just about to say there's multiple scenes. There's 2 bedroom scenes actually where Tinkerbell through projection interacts with physical elements in the room that actually move. So there's like a chest, there is a lamp that turns on, there's a sailboat that like jiggles, and there's a portrait. There's also there's like this like jug of water that also kind of gets activated as well. It's really cool. It's really well done. I always love when they combine, I'm not the biggest fan of projections and screens, but if they could combine them with live elements in the room, I'm always a fan of that. And I think that's like a marriage I'm willing to stand by. What are you smiling at me like that for, Byron?
It just like it reminded me that you might judge me a little bit. I rope dropped this the last time I did it at Disney
I don't judge
World.
you for that. That's a move. That's the move.
So I didn't spend enough time to like see everything in that queue.
Oh, I see.
But I also don't want to feel the full force of waiting in that queue either. So
I mean, it's a nice queue. It looks really cool.
It's beautiful.
But yeah, I'm jealous of that. That's really the only fun fact about that. As you'd mentioned before, Walt always had a connection to Peter Pan. He saw it on stage as a little boy, but he was also cast as the role of Peter Pan in a play in school. Here's what Walt said about that. And this is such a funny thing for Walt to say. Quote, "No actor ever identified with the part he was playing more than I." End quote. Like Walt talking like he's Daniel Day-Lewis or something.
I think maybe he was just trying to say he's a child at heart.
No, and it makes sense. Like if there was going to be a character of Walt's, like in Walt's movies, that you would have him identify with the most, it would probably be the person who's a child at heart forever, which makes sense. I wonder if he was any good. I mean, that's neither here nor there. I wish
some long lost film like emerged of Walt Disney performing as Peter Pan.
I mean, to be fair, he is a guy that
you wouldn't get it with audio. Wouldn't have audio. So
no,
you'd never know.
But I mean, like this is also a guy who whatever he put his mind to, he did. You not only accomplish, but like in spades. Like this guy.
I mean, he did voice the original Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, all accounts of like when he would storyboard in meetings, he would be very animated and act out all the parts for the Imagineers. And honestly, a lot of the Imagineers are like, he's pretty good.
You see, like when he grabs that apple, like for Snow White.
Yeah, he really
like,
gets into
does.
it. He gets into it. So I don't know. I'd love to see the footage, but I guess we can't. Apparently 1955. Oh my God, this is a crazy story. And I will admit, I found this is a story from a TikTok, so I don't know if it's real, but apparently this happened in 1955, opening year. On this ride, Captain Hook used to say, "Smee, shoot them down, Smee, shoot them down." And at that exact moment in the ride, a galleon actually broke. The ride vehicle broke and fell to the floor, sending the riders flying out of the vehicle. Luckily, nobody was hurt. And the riders, when returning to the station, said it was the best ride they've ever been on and asked to go again.
No way.
I have not heard that anywhere else, but apparently that did happen. So maybe chime off in the comments. Has that been debunked? I feel like you would have some sort of evidence of that. Like, you know, if they went like flying into like a volcano or something like that. You would.
Yeah.
The only one that I did hear of was like the original ride vehicles used to be capable of swaying like a lot more than they do today.
That's cool.
But of course, these punks would get in there and just sway the shit out of those boats. So I think like Bob Gurr had to get involved with like making the vehicles like sway less.
Oh, I thought you meant Bob
That
Gurr
would make
sat
sense.
on each ride with these punks.
Yeah, and he's
Just
like,
watching them,
like,
chaperoning.
let's do it.
No, I can't. I mean, look, I'm glad no one got hurt. It is hilarious. That is very like, honestly, if that happened to me, I would. Also 1955, theme parks weren't really that big of a thing at that point in terms of like this level of immersion and craft. They probably did think that was part of the ride because like Captain Hook is like saying, "Shoot them down," and then the boat falls down. They were probably like, "I can't believe Disney got away with this. Like, this is the greatest ride I've ever been on."
Yeah, and if they're only falling 10 feet as opposed to like say 17, then...
17, much different. You can't fall 2.5 shacks and walk away to tell the tale without a sprained ankle. This ride almost never has a wait below 60 minutes. That was a fun fact that I guess isn't a fact, but I just wanted to air that out. And to end this fun facts section, we have another trivia time. Since Peter Pan is an opening day attraction, what ticket classification did Peter Pan have on opening day? We'll start with Lauren because how she reacted to that, it tells me that she either knows the answer very well or she is nervous right now.
I feel like I used to know the answer and I don't know, an A.
That's Lauren's answer. What is your answer, Byron?
Yeah.
B.
It is a C.
Oh,
A C
why?
ticket, which at the time was the highest classification offered. It was only A through C, but I did see that later in time when they did go up to D and E ticket, this was still a C ticket. So, but back in the day, this was the top dog.
Would you consider it E today?
No,
Yeah,
I think C is more than fair.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about do you ever wish they would bring back the ticket books?
I'm afraid of how they would use them.
That's true. I think it's
Yeah.
only fun from the classification standpoint.
Yeah, because I mean, you go to the county fair and you're paying like what, almost $10 a ride now or something like that. Imagine if
crazy.
you're at Disneyland.
Lauren, would you like it if they brought back the ticket books?
No, I don't think so. I think especially if they kept like everything else they have now too, with all the fast passes and
18
the-
steps.
I mean, essentially
Genie and-
they found a new way to do the ticket booths
Yeah,
through
it's
the
just
individual lightning
online
lane.
form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, here's why I agree they probably would go too far, but I like the classification system because I enjoy when I go to like a restaurant and they have a little symbol by some of the items to let me know that those are the good ones. Like these are the favorites that people order. So like a ticket book is basically them saying like, here are the rides that are the really good ones that you want to make your time for. And it could help crowd flow. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
Sometimes I wonder, I'm like, you don't think that like before they greenlit the $500 million Cosmic Rewind, they weren't like, well, if we charge, let's say 10,000 people a day, $20 to get on this for the next 2-3 years, we might recoup a lot of those costs.
Yeah. That does it for the fun facts. Let's move on to some armchair engineering, but once again, let's thank our sponsors. And we are back. All right, it's time for some armchair engineering. What's one thing that you would possibly do to this attraction to make it even better? Is there anything that comes to mind for you, Lauren?
Make it longer.
Make it longer.
I feel like it's so short, like you're just getting into it and then it's over.
That's fair. and that might come in later in our tests.
Yeah.
For me, I'm going extreme because it's armchair engineering and you could do whatever you want. I think a Peter Pan's flight ride would be a really cool themed, maybe coaster, a thrill ride even. I know this would destroy the sanctity of this ride, so you don't come after me. I'm not trying to say that this is what they should do. But like, because it's like this overhead hanging system, and there are rides that are roller coasters that are like that are suspended, that are able to sway back and forth, kind of like Ninja at Six Flags. It would be crazy.
Or at least like pivot, like turn toward where the story's happening.
Well, just imagine if the boats were moving fast through the air and they could swing.
And then you have a 10-second ride with that layer. You get
it would be a 10-second ride. You'd have to make it real long.
You had to knock down Toad. You had to knock down Alice.
No, it would be impossible.
Yeah.
But, they can turn the speed up on this ride. I've heard that they actually do turn the speed up when it's like when they're really getting slammed, and it makes the ride even shorter. But kind of cool to be like, I rode Peter Pan at like 3x speed.
Yeah.
They should have a 3x speed day, a flight day. I'd go. Would you guys not go to be like, hey, only today, Peter Pan, 5x speed?
I'd like to see if you get that airtime.
I actually just get launched.
Yeah, the people really would be blasted
Just
out of that
off
galleon.
Straight to Neverland. Just
no. That's what I have. Byron, do you have anything you would do to improve this bad boy? You don't have to say something here.
Like, are we stuck with like the confines of the space?
I guess if you want to be technical, yes, you could say you're stuck with the confines of the space.
I mean, just make the queue better at Disneyland.
Yeah.
That's all I ask.
That would be nice.
I have very simple needs. Just improve the queue at Disneyland. Or maybe some shade. How about that?
Shade would be great.
There's my brilliant idea.
The Magic Kingdom is completely devoid of shade in general. I don't think that's a hot take.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a hot take. I've actually heard, Lauren, you've said that Magic Kingdom, not a great park.
No.
Okay, I didn't want to like out you there, but I'm pretty sure
it's the bottom of my list.
It's the bottom of my list as well. And I think that's maybe a hot take because my order is Epcot, Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, then Magic Kingdom. Most people would have Hollywood Studios as the worst. I get it, but
here's the thing: if Disneyland Park in California didn't exist, do you still think Magic Kingdom would be a bad park?
I think so.
Well, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know what's good.
It's very sparse. It's very spread out and sprawling. A lot of concrete, not a lot of shade.
I talked about this with Tim. We were saying it just feels a bit more commercial because everything's so enlarged and it's like all spread out more.
I agree.
So it's a lot more like Disneyland is much more, you feel like safer at home because everything's smaller, but there's more trees and it feels more like a park than anything.
From your mouth to God's ears. I agree. I agree. That is. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Don't worry, guys. Cars is coming.
That's right.
It's gonna bring all that.
Mater's setting up shop, baby. He's gonna make
all
some
the
improvements.
problems. Although, I mean, Villains Land, I will say, at least that will like give it hopefully a different.
Anyways, let's move on to the good and the bad. What are the good and the bad things about this ride? And Lauren, feel free to interject at any point here to disagree with me or add on any. But I'm going to start my little list of goods here. The queue in Walt Disney World. I mean, we talked about it a little bit. They really went above and beyond to improve this experience. They recognized people are waiting in this line a long time. We should probably give them something to entertain them. So I appreciate that. Next good I wrote is the ride vehicles themselves. I mean, like, I think part of the reason why, we like this is because as kids, we like being in that boat. I mean, Laura, what do you think?
So the Disneyland one,
yeah,
yes, but it is different from the Disney World boat.
I see.
Because at Disney World, the sail is behind you, and I would never have noticed this except the first time I rode the Disney World one. At the end, when you're getting off, the boat stops, and my head jolted back into the back sail behind me, gave me a migraine for like the rest of the day.
Oh my God.
So since then, I've had like beef with the Disney World Peter Pan boat.
Did they
compared to the Disneyland one?
Did they hook it up with like a churro or something?
No, I didn't tell anyone. I was just like, dang, what just happened?
You should have said something. You should have been like, I got concussed by your sail
honestly,
here on your fake pirate ship.
Yeah, but that's my only complaint. Otherwise, I love the boat concept, just not the Disney World ones.
Apparently the sail is on the front in the Disneyland version just to hide your view of the track.
And that
Oh,
motor
that
that
makes sense.
connects to it, right?
The motor that connects to it. Yeah.
That was you read my mind.
Yeah.
I'm wondering where it's located on the Disney World version.
It must be somewhere else. They were like, you know what? Like, we'll hide the motor, but we'll perfectly leave it capable of giving you CTE.
Yeah.
We don't care. Get on our CTE vehicle. I haven't heard of that. I'm gonna have to look out for that.
Preserve the sight line. Preserve the sight line.
The flight sequence, next good I wrote. I mean, iconic.
Come on, everybody. Here we go. On to Neverland.
There it is, Wendy. Second star to the right, straight on forward.
Here's a crazy thing I'm about to say. It's the second most iconic flight
Oh,
sequence
I know.
of all
I
time.
knew
It's the second
coming this
most.
week.
Look,
I
it's
knew
still
you were going to
good.
bring an
It's
ET.
still good.
I knew you were going to
It's
be like,
still
oh,
good,
ET's
dude.
got the better flying over the city
ET
scene.
does have the better
Even though
flying over the city scene.
Even though it totally
It does.
ripped this scene off.
Lauren, I did not mean for you to see mom and dad fight like that. But it's true. E.T. is the superior flying over the city scene. Hey, look. Come at me.
Look,
Kill me.
I'm
Hey,
not-
why not?
I don't think that's a bad opinion, by the way.
That's fair.
But I don't know if that exists if Peter Pan does it.
Oh, no, it certainly doesn't. Peter Pan did it first. That doesn't mean someone can't do it better later, though. You know what I mean?
I'm saying that's
I'm not-
Stevie's motto.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be, purposefully bombastic or, trying to get a rise out of folks. But I
I don't
have
think
more of a
that's
connection with E.T. I don't know.
I don't think that's a bad opinion. I think it feels a little more expansive there.
It does. And it has the star tunnel.
Whatever.
I'm just... Hey, Lauren,
There
have you
is
been on
some-
E.T.?
I haven't, no, so I can't.
She
I
has
can't
no
say
dog in this
anything.
fight.
No.
It'll remain at a stalemate for the time being.
The
but,
next time when you eventually do
when
get on
you,
E.T.'s
when
adventure,
you live in or if you make it over to Orlando,
get on
again.
E.T.'s adventure, and just you'll be thinking, unfortunately, of Byron and I. Hopefully not. I just realized, but maybe you'll be like, you know what, Ryan is completely wrong. Like, I don't know.
Send our regards to Magdal.
That's right.
And but no, back to Peter Pan. That opening when you make it out of the when you fly out of the
Window.
Darling house, out of that window, and that music, that da 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 da,
Oh,
like
that's so good.
Oh man, all the feels. I still get the feels.
No, I was just about to say that transition moment from when you fly out the window and you actually hear the whirring, like the whirling kind of nature of the strings when it goes, and you actually get our guy Petey saying, "Here we go."
That's right.
It's
Yeah.
a really fun moment, really well done. Also, love seeing what's the dog's name, Lady?
Nana.
Nana. I love seeing Nana.
Which I've heard, once again, maybe 70% sure on this, that Nana was the only figure from the original Peter Pan's flight that opened in 1955. Everything else was reconstructed and redone, but that Nana
interesting.
dog in the first scene is from 1955. Maybe they repainted it and stuff like that.
I thought they replaced her after a while.
Maybe.
In the 80s, I don't know.
We'll have to put that in FYA Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah. Once again, I'm 70. I'm leaving 30% at least. Margin of error.
And
but I've heard that the Nana dog is from
That'd be cool.
is the only piece from the original.
That'd be a cool way to have kind of a preserved piece of history in there.
Yeah.
But you're only at 70%.
Yeah, I'm 70% sure.
I'm at 100% sure that E.T. is the superior flying sequence.
And I'm 50% sure you're wrong.
That's fair.
I can't decide for myself,
That's
honestly.
fair. But no, that transition from the window, very good. I just, in general, I think the next good I wrote here is I feel like the transitions in this ride might be the best in the Fantasyland area. Of all the old school pretzel dark rides, I feel like this one transitions from scenes in a more fun way. Maybe that's just because you're flying and it's a more jolly experience. What do you is that a crazy thing to say? Like when you compare it to Pinocchio and Snow White and Toad?
I don't know. Toad does it pretty well too. Like when you get hit by the train and then suddenly
Yeah.
you're going to help. But that's the best one I can think of.
No, Toad is pretty good.
Yeah, I feel like it is probably the best.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's the second best. Hey, it's already the second best at the flying sequence. It's okay that it's the second best there too. I'm sorry. There's people who are driving right now just white knuckling their steering wheel, being like, "Stop saying that! Stop saying that! It is not true." I love that you get to fly two flyover rooms in this ride too. That's awesome because like the rest of the ride from that point on, you're seeing things at full scale. You're just kind of seeing them as you fly past them.
How many flyover scenes are in ET?
There's only one.
Oh, okay.
But you do fly through an alien planet, Byron, and you get the Star Tunnel.
That is true.
The snark has been registered, it's been recognized, and it's not been appreciated.
And there's a Teakley.
But there's two flyover rooms. There's one from London, one from Neverland. And maybe I'm crazy, but I just always forget about the Neverland flyover room.
Oh, what? How?
I think it's because when I think of this ride, I'm just so zoned in on that big ass clock. I love Big Ben. I love how big he is. And then I got lost in just kind of like the magic of seeing the little cars down below. I've always had like an affinity for miniatures, much like our guy Walt Disney. I just always thought they were so cool. And so seeing like a tiny city always kind of captured my imagination when I was a kid. So it just kind of takes front and center for me. But gotta have some justice here for that Neverland flyover scene. It's also just as good. It's fun flying over volcanoes. I think that's really cool. Apparently at one point they had like an effect, and I don't know if it's still there today, and I've never seen it, so I can't verify. Maybe you guys can. They had little styrofoam little balls kind of like blowing out of the tops of these volcanoes to kind of represent the bubbling lava.
Oh, that's neat.
Have you guys seen that?
I don't remember that.
I don't think so.
That might be just something someone said on the internet.
I was always fixated on the stars in that room.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, beautiful.
Because Orlando doesn't have a star room.
Oh,
that I remember.
I think you might be right. I mean, the Disneyland version is a little bit longer. What in particular do you guys, and we'll start with Lauren here, like most about this flyover room or just this flyover scene in general? Like
probably the stars.
Yeah, the stars.
That's like I think I was 10 probably, and I reached out and I hit one of the stars, and that caused like 10 other ones to kind of bounce. They were all bouncing. My dad like grabbed me like, don't do that. But I always remembered that. I thought that was so cool. That was probably my favorite. Yeah,
it seems like there's something that captures somebody's attention in this room every time they go through it because everyone has their own unique experience in these two rooms. Byron, are you fixated on the big guy like I am?
That's really cool. I like that you kind of feels like you're like spending an elongated moment in there to the point that you kind of like turn around and you see like another ship flying by. Like
yeah.
So the kinetic energy. I love that kinetic energy. But
it's fun to see other.
I
think
that's
vehicles.
one of my favorite. Like where I'm like, oh wow, like I'm still in here. I'm still flying.
Yeah.
Which is kind of ironic for a ride that I think is too short. But anyway.
Well, also seeing the other ships flying in the room with you, it doesn't break the illusion that you're flying because they look like they're flying.
Yeah.
They're flying too, yeah.
Which is nice.
I'm like, oh, that's like me.
It's reinforcing what's happening to you. Like, yeah, I kind of like that too. I never really thought about that, but it is something that I feel in my body when I'm in there.
By the way, stupid armchair engineering idea. I'd like to see Nana make it to Neverland.
Yeah.
I'd like to. That always bummed me out when the kid. I think it was the kid trying to like get the pixie dust on Nana to get her out the window.
I'm not gonna lie. Judging by Nana's face when that happens, she don't want to fly.
Exactly. That's why I'd love to see it happen.
Nana's like, this is Nana's nap time.
Yeah.
Why don't you get that little? I'm gonna eat that little fairy if you bring her.
Lauren, do you ever see a dog get like put in the water or a bat that clearly does not want to be in the water? It's trying like.
And you think that's how Nana was?
That is the satisfaction I think I would get if I saw a scene where Nana was doing the flyover with us.
She's got those sad eyes too.
Yeah.
And then the last two goods I wrote here, and if you guys have any, we could add on here. The score, iconic, especially as you're flying. The score is just pure joy. It really is. Yeah, they knocked it out of the park with that one. They went crazy on that one. And also, it's cool to see Cap and Pete fighting, little sword fight on the pirate ship.
That was not an original.
No, because Peter Pan was
design.
never in the.
That's right.
Was never
well,
there.
even when they added, I forget. Maybe that came in 1982.
Is that at both parks?
I don't know if it's at Disney World. Is it at Disney World?
I'm gonna have to
It's at
revisit
Disneyland.
POV.
It's at Disneyland. I know it's at Disneyland.
Chime off in the comments, you Orlando folk.
But yeah, that's the last of my goods. Lauren, is there anything that I missed that you want to highlight in this ride that you enjoy when you're in it?
I think you covered most of it, yeah.
I like how they creatively make that last room with the pirate ship kind of multiple scenes. They use the big sail to kind of so you don't see Captain Hook and Peter fighting at first. You see Wendy on the plank, which is neat. Maybe you see the alligator's at the end, or the crocodile's at the really end of the
I love
ride.
that guy.
You're essentially like in the same room, but you're getting a new scene that way.
What is that
where
guy's
you see,
name?
What guy?
The croc, the big gator.
Did he have a name?
I thought he.
Does he have a
I thought he
name?
had a name.
I know he has a theme song. I like the theme
He's got
song.
his little clock. Which, by the way, I don't have they brought this back in Fantasmic. That was always one of my favorite parts of Fantasmic was seeing Captain Hook swinging off the back of the boat while the big
And
crocodile
the gator
chases him.
Crocodile, yeah.
So good. The save me, Smee! Save me!
That's right.
That's the best part of Fantasmic.
I love that.
And it's back now.
I'm glad they brought Pan back.
back,
I don't know
yeah.
if they actually brought that part back though.
I
Maybe
thought
they
I
did.
remember seeing it last
Maybe they
time.
did.
I can't remember.
Oh my god, I gotta see that. But no, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I think it's just really cool that you kind of like weave around that ship. Like you go through in between like the what's the ding? Like not the flagpoles, but the
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 mast.
sail.
yes, the mast. Yes.
Yeah.
The sail and the mast. I'm looking. Yeah, no, like really neat. What am I missing? I mean, like the Neverland scene's pretty neat too.
Yeah.
I love the mermaid scene, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of Disneyland's with all the pixie dust in the ship in the distance and it's sunset. That's so pretty to me.
That's a good point. It's a good little wrap up, and it has a finality to it that some of the dark rides in Fantasyland don't. Or
Yeah.
some of them.
A lot of them are just so abrupt.
Yeah,
At the
like,
end,
did I
They lived happily ever after.
Just die? Or?
They're just kind of like, I guess it's.
Or hell,
I
yeah.
guess I'm out. I think the Toad one has a finality. You're pretty. There is a giant guy who points at you and goes guilty, and you go to hell. but in this particular case, it's a nice little bow at the end of it. That's a good point. Beautiful sunset. Moving on, though, let's go to some of the bads. I don't have too many for this ride, honestly. Other than the queue and the wait, especially at Disneyland, absolutely horrendous. Especially if you get stuck in what I call the pit of despair.
Yes, I call it that too.
I actually have a video of it. I took a video of it the last time I was there when we were standing in line. There is a portion of the Disneyland queue to the right of the ride if you're looking at it, where it's just a pit of switchbacks that seems endless.
It looks harmless from the outside looking in. And then you get there.
And you're there forever.
And you're there
Yeah.
forever. If you're there in the afternoon, often the sun is positioned to
Good
just
luck.
be shooting right in there, like at least for half of it before you get to the shade. So you could just see people like the last couple switchbacks, like just really trying to push themselves into that shade.
And it gets hot in there. If you look at it from above, it's like a swirl of people. It's like just the sun,
It's very condensed.
a Cinnabon of people just roasted slowly.
You think you're almost like on the ride because of course you pass like right in front of where like you would essentially be boarding. Disney World kind of has this too where you enter and you're like, wow, the ships are right there. I can't wait to board. And it's like,
Nope.
and it's like, no, you may not get out.
That's the mental trick that they have there. Because if you could see the loading
yeah,
zone,
you can't visualize the queue.
you can't really see the queue. It makes you think, oh, I'm so close. And that's why the pit of despair is the pit of despair. Because you feel like you're close.
It's so bad, man.
And then the next bad I have here is I mentioned this before. Sometimes they speed up the ride to help capacity, but that results in an even shorter experience, which leads me to my next one. It's too short. What makes it feel too short to you, Lauren?
I don't know. I feel like I just enjoy looking at everything. There's so much to look at. Maybe it's because it's going even faster than I want it to go.
Yeah, it's true.
I just enjoy looking at all the little things and then suddenly it's done.
Yeah, there's I don't know. It's just not. It's not as satisfying for some reason. I can't put my finger on it why it feels so short because it's like not that much shorter than the other Fantasyland rides.
I was kind of surprised you said it was
3 minutes.
almost 3 minutes. Yeah, because I kind of thought it was like a minute 30 or something.
Well, that could be because
But-
they're speeding it up.
I
Who knows?
agree.
Maybe.
You know what? Okay, this is my best guess because I was shocked as well when I figured out the runtime of this because I was like in the same boat where it's like it's like 60 minutes, like 60 seconds to 90 seconds. It's those first two flyover scenes eat up like a really good chunk of time and they're beautiful. You take it in. And I think the time flies that way. Whereas like after you're through those flyover scenes, you're probably through like 2 minutes and there's not much more like story wise after that. You're essentially just making your way through the pirate ship.
It just zooms right through the last where it has all the characters and everything. But
That's a good point.
yeah.
You're probably right. And also, you're just so entranced by those two flyover scenes that you probably do lose track of the time a little bit. And then when you're actually like in ride mode again, you're like, oh, wait a second. I'm on Peter Pan. Oh, now they're fighting. I'm getting off now.
It's over.
I also feel like there might be a part of me that just doesn't want it to end.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's where I'm at too.
It's a
yeah.
magical experience.
But this did remind me, like when you bring up speeding these things up, I'm a little skeptical on the reason why they'd have to speed those boats up because there is never a moment where you do not have passengers loading or boats available to carry those passengers. So speeding it up wouldn't necessarily do anything because the block zones ahead of it would already be occupied. And that system is designed to only keep one ship in each block zone.
Oh, damn.
So it doesn't, I don't think it makes sense. Because
Byron's calling BS.
I'm just skeptical. I don't see the benefit of them doing it. I think the limitations of the capacity is more the boarding process and the size of the ride vehicles.
Dude, I mean, release the capacity, Disneyland. I need to see it. I need to see it on paper. And then the last bad here. Look, I gotta acknowledge it. The Native American scene in Disneyland, highly inappropriate.
Isn't it gone now?
No.
No, they changed the Disney World
They changed
one.
the Disney World one. The one in Disneyland still. Come on now.
What
are we doing?
What is it even?
It's just, it's this. There's a song in Peter Pan was like, "Why does the red man say something like that?" And it's pictorially represented in a way that
Like
is
the
not
pipe
great.
smoking.
Yeah, it's not great.
Got it.
Got to get that out of there.
That's
I
fair.
understand.
Now because the Disney World one has them kind of like dancing like in like a circle, right?
No. Well, it's not so much even like the act as it is just
But the chief is gone,
Their
right?
appearance is what I have an issue
Oh
with.
yeah. No, they changed the appearance at Disney World,
Yes, thank God.
but it's still the same at Disneyland.
As far as I know, it is. At the time of this recording, I checked Ride POV as of like last year and still there. So
I feel like that's an easy fix.
should be.
And it doesn't really change much. So
No, it doesn't. Yeah, so I feel like
I think
let's get that out of there. Come on now. Let's get that out of there.
I'm sure like
I'm surprised they didn't do Disneyland's at the same time they did Disney World's. Like just do it all at once.
Yeah, I don't know.
But-
were they like, are we sure about this? Should we test it out
Yeah.
once? Like, I feel like that should be a pretty wholesale across the board decision.
it's probably more of like like when we hit the next research, like I'm sure it's on the list.
Yeah.
It's just like they might have like recently done like a refurb and they're like, okay, we got to wait for the next refurb cycle.
Well, people were already
and
up in
bundle it
arms
in
about
with,
the Pirates of the Caribbean auction scene being changed. Maybe they're like, the Disneyland folks can't handle this.
You know
Like,
what?
if they-
Another potential reason is like there's so many Disneyland rides that over the course of this year, last couple years, have been closing down. Like it's like Splash Mountain like closed down. They did a Space Mountain refurb. Like
Oh, so
Indiana
just from
Jones
the
had the
capacity
elongated.
reasons, yeah.
So like and it's like when Peter Pan is such a long ride that a lot of disappointed families might be like, yeah, I spent $200 on this ticket. I can't ride Pirates. I can't ride Splash or your Tianas.
Yeah,
or
lot down.
Indiana Jones and Peter Pan. Like that's my kid's favorite ride. So I think they're looking for that window. I think they're gonna. I think that change is imminent.
They should look a little harder.
It seems like
They should look a little harder.
It seems like the Disney World's version was really well received. So
That's my last bad. Do you guys have any other nitpicks for this ride? Other than being too short. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good ride.
yeah, I don't know. Just maybe just a couple more scenes maybe, but I don't know. They already expanded the Disneyland version.
There's not a lot of room.
Yeah, I mean, like if I were to nitpick, I'd say that the Disney World version could maybe use some of the Disneyland's like projection enhancements. I'm not like huge usually like on like saying, oh, like get the projections, but I think they were actually really like tastefully done.
How they do it with Tinkerbell is pretty cool. It's like really the only way you can do that.
Well, like with Disneyland, and then like I think they have like the star and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That they added to the Disneyland version. Whatever those like just like subtle like additions.
Oh, and they have...
Sorry.
They have the kids and Peter flying onto the clock tower, landing on Big Ben.
Oh,
True,
yeah.
Cute. That one's a cute one. I like that one.
Yeah.
I like that clock.
But
It's a good clock.
I think Disney World will probably eventually get those enhancements too.
I'm sure they
But then again, I feel like they would have done that when they changed the Native American scene.
You would have thought so. I mean, look, it's I don't know what the inner workings are and why I think certain places get certain things, but it would be nice. It would be nice. They got a great queue though, so they can't have everything.
That's true.
Let's move on to the world-class tests. But before we do that, let's once again thank our sponsors. And we are back. This is the world-class test, the crown jewel of this podcast. This is a rubric of 10 tests painstakingly devised by Byron and myself to determine if an attraction is world-class. To receive the highly coveted world-class pass, the attraction must pass 7 out of 10 tests. A score of 6 out of 10 leaves the attraction up for debate for world-class pass standing, and anything lower than 6 out of 10 is an automatic fail. So, I'm very curious how this ride is going to go. Let's start with test number 1, the average tourist test. Would the average tourist have a hard time getting on this ride? Is there a long wait? Is there a complicated queue system? I have to say, anecdotally, I have read several Reddit threads. There's actually one that's like, I think the title of the thread is like, what's the deal with Peter Pan's flight? And like, it's just full of families commenting like, I waited like an hour and a half for this ride. I don't get it. Like, so people are waiting for this ride, long waits. So in that sense, it is somewhat hard to get on, but in the Disney sense, you don't have to pay any extra fee to get on it, or, you know, some sort of like weird lightning lane thing, or
Well, you can't.
Well, you can't, exactly. So it is what you see is what you get. You see the wait time, you wait in line. It may be long, but I don't think if you're a family and like that wants to, like, I have to get on this ride in my vacation, that's an achievable goal. Whereas like Rise of the Resistance at one point, there was a fair to good chance you weren't going to get on that ride.
Yeah. Which is funny because it passed.
Yeah, Byron, don't remind me. It did pass. But that's the new Rise of the Resistance.
It was always it always
No, like, there was that weird the lottery system. You know what I'm talking about.
it hasn't gotten hasn't gotten harder to get on. Yeah, there's the lottery system when it first opened.
You're right.
And then they close that thing at 10 p.m., which most park guests don't know about.
I'm a
and
human
they
being.
show
I
up
make
there like
mistakes sometimes.
Hey, look, there's a way to potentially fix that, but we'll
settle that
talk
in
about that
court.
in kangaroo court. It's weird because the test is would the average tourist like have a hard time getting on this ride? I think everyone will have a hard time getting on Peter Pan's flight, but they can get on it, and it's pretty.
Where does this fall with you, Lauren? Because I'm curious. Up to you. How do you see this one, and how would you pass it?
I feel like you just have to. It has to be a patience thing. I feel like if you want on it, you're gonna get on it. You see the ride time, you're gonna get the wait time, and you have to wait through it. And if you don't want to, then it'll be difficult for you. But
Yeah.
I feel like, especially with the queue in Orlando, it's like there's so much to entertain the kids, which are usually the ones freaking out after a certain extent of time of waiting.
That's true.
So I feel like it's not.
And you do have the lightning lane option over there.
Yeah.
Right?
I think
you do.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Which is probably, I'm wondering if that's also why that standby wait time average is even with the higher capacity.
Yeah.
I know there's less rides too than Disneyland.
There really is.
But yeah, like a 56-minute average for that. I'm wondering how much of that is because of the lightning lane holds that up.
I mean, like Lauren was saying, you see what you get here. You know, if you're an adult, you get yourself a line beer.
It doesn't. I guess
if you're a kid, you get yourself a churro, and you just like you strap in.
It's the sun can be difficult, obviously, but you're not doing, I guess, mental gymnastics to get on this ride.
No.
So in that sense, I would give it a pass. It's probably it's one of the most coveted Fantasyland rides. So I don't think people are going to miss it. It's right there at the front.
Yeah.
They're gonna
right when you
suffer
walk
through
through the castle.
It's
Any
right there,
average
yeah.
tourist needs to go through the Disneyland castle. You take your photo in front of the castle, you walk through it, and then you get cooked in the sun for 45 minutes.
I think 45 minutes isn't that crazy.
And that's just something you do. It's part of the Disneyland experience, especially for the average tourist.
But
Yeah.
there's several videos out there on YouTube of just like, why is the Peter Pan line so long?
Yes.
So we're gonna get some folks being like, this is the definition of a long wait, and like,
People want to fly to Neverland, and it's 400 person capacity.
yeah, and it has a low capacity, and people want to get on this ride, so that it's gonna have a longer wait. I guess it's only 35 minutes on average, which I still don't buy, but
I don't believe that at all.
I don't believe that either.
What was the time? Oh wait, we already
I'm calling
looked at it.
shenanigans
But
throwdata.com.
it was like 35 minutes when we checked at the beginning of this podcast.
That's so random. That's so
And you guys
out of pocket for
you
it.
two are still trying to die on that hill. I'm telling you, I think I often see it at 45, but I rarely see it over an hour.
Perception is reality, I guess. This is like, anecdotally, I know that this ride always has a long wait, and so even when presented with the facts of an average wait time and seeing it in the app at 35
buy it.
minutes, I still don't buy it. I've been burned by this ride too many times. But I guess by that metric, it is a pass.
Pass.
We might get
Pass for Lauren.
Pass.
We might get some flack. All right, that's a pass. Moving on, 1 for 1. Test number 2, the Leslie Stahl test. Would you be willing to wait 60 minutes for this attraction if you've already been on it at least once? Or if everything in the park was 60 minutes, would this be one of the rides you wait for?
Depends how tired I am. I mean, because it's like, yeah, I don't know. If I've gone on it once that day, I'm probably going to wait for something else. Because I usually only go on it one time unless it's like a super short wait, again, honestly.
Which never happens. Yeah, that's true. This isn't like a ride where I'm like, on a whim, I feel like I'm going to get on Peter Pan right now. Like, it's not one of those rides. Like, you kind of have to, like, make a thing out of it. Like, I don't get on this ride often. I certainly wouldn't wait 60, though. I'll tell you that.
I feel like I already wait 60, though, so I thought it was like a 60-minute wait time normally. So I'm like, well, that's like normal for it. So like, yes, but not if I've already been on it that day.
The thing is, I usually will figure out a way to snake my way in there, whether it's like a rope drop or if I like at the end of the night see it's a short wait, I'll pop on over.
Yeah.
But like, I'm never gonna pay the full price for this ride. I'm always gonna look for that discount.
Yeah.
I'm not buying it at Nordstrom's. I'm going to the Rack.
I feel like every time I go to Disneyland, I'm always browsing to see like, oh, is this a Peter Pan day? And I always see it at the 45, and I won't even do it at the 45.
So you know your balking point.
So I know I won't do the 60.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do the 60.
Occasionally I do the 45, but I cannot go beyond that.
It's a fine ride. I love it. It's too short for me to wait 60.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, by the way, a really tough ride to rope drop.
Oh yeah, because everyone goes to it.
We did it on my birthday.
Yeah, we tried.
And
We still waited 30 minutes.
yes.
Which feels short for that ride.
It did feel short.
Because if they're like, 100, like if a group of 100 people are waiting at that rope before you get there, it doesn't matter if you're in the first 100, you're going to wait half an hour just because it takes so long to load passengers.
I was so confident. I think I had a coffee in my hand. And when you have a coffee in your hand when you're rope dropping the first ride of the day, you're going to have to throw that coffee away almost immediately because you're walking onto the ride. But in Peter Pan, I was like, I bet you I'm waiting 20.
Your coffee's cold by the time you get on.
Yeah, plenty of time to make. You can have a bagel.
Yeah, you have to be like, you have to win the rope drop. You can't just rope drop and get on.
This
Peter
doesn't
Pan.
look good for the pass of the average tourist test where we're like, yeah, you can rope drop this and wait 30.
Because you can still get on the ride. You're just like,
All right.
I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not one of those. Because sometimes, Lauren, I will rope drop Fantasyland so that I can get not have to deal with like the families and stuff, like waiting in the lines the whole day, like
Just get those families out of there.
like this loner adult weirdo. So I just go, I knock out all the Fantasyland rides because I did this one day where I'm like, I'm going to go on every single ride in one day at Disneyland. And when I was planning for it, I realized it's better to go to Fantasyland first as opposed to, say, a Space Mountain, because all those little 20 to 25-minute waits add up.
Yeah.
Whereas you could walk on a bunch of them, with the exception of Peter Pan.
Well, yeah, that's our go-to rope drop. My sister and I just went in August, and that's what we do every time. We do Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland, and then we go over to Indy and do our other ones. And then the other dark rides are more like we'll do it if we have time later or when we're tired in the afternoon. But those are like, hit these because we love them, and then go do like Indy, because that's
also a pro move to hit Alice second, because it's a highly visible ride. Like, you're seeing that even if you're not in Fantasyland.
Yeah.
And it looks cool. You could actually see the ride vehicle from the outside, so people kind of flock to it naturally.
Kinetics, yeah.
The kinetics, exactly.
Look, I feel okay about passing it on the average tourist test, because the average, like,
hey, look,
it's,
man,
it's different for us that go to, like, if we go to Disney all the time, then yes, like, waiting in that line seems like way more daunting.
I'm going to get a text from Byron at 2 a.m. It's like, I can't believe we passed that. Byron has actually texted me after episodes before, being like, questioning our passes. It, like, really tears him apart. All right, this is a fail for Leslie Stahl, though.
Fail,
1 for 2. Moving to test number 3, the smartphone test. Okay. Does the queue of this ride have enough to keep you off of your phone?
Are we splitting this one?
It might have to be a split.
It might have to be a split, but even so, I wonder, you end up spending a good amount of time. Like, how much time are you actually spending in that new queue?
I mean,
as opposed to, like, there are some long hallways.
There's a long hallway that leads into the themed rooms of just portraits.
And then there's another long hallway, I think, afterwards, like after all the and if it's a 56-minute average wait, that means you're still spending probably like half an hour or so.
Yeah, does the for the most part, 3 rooms that are themed well make up for the expanse of nothingness?
Well, and I feel like all the interactive stuff is kind of in one part of the queue, all right next to each other. So the rest of the time, like, it's nice to look at, but I don't know if that guarantees you're not on your phone.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time with this one because I really want to reward that queue, because that portion is beautiful. It's like, it's so good.
The line still feels brutal, though.
Yeah, but like, in the spirit of the test, there's still just so, like, there's so much time of essentially doing nothing and just being in hallways that you would be on your phone.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I'm just going to read out some attractions that we've passed in this test in the past. People Mover. I don't know what we were thinking there.
Why? What?
That reaction
Lauren,
you just had, Lauren, was exactly the reaction of everyone in the comments.
Yes, we get a lot of comments like that. You are not alone.
There's nothing to do. There's nothing to. You're just standing there.
Look, we were convinced. We had a very compelling argument given by the guest.
I was not convinced. I still voted no.
Okay, don't clutch your
we have
pearls
one
over there.
Sane person here.
Yeah. They gave us the argument that there's an ambiance of Tomorrowland. You're barely out there.
You let Shane work you.
He did work me.
Tomorrowland needs a refurbishment in itself. Like, the whole land needs updating. There's nothing like
that's true.
Ridiculous.
If the argument is like Tomorrowland's ambiance really adds to it when everyone's like, Tomorrowland should be burned to the ground.
Yeah, maybe at night it's pretty, but okay.
That was a stretch. It was a stretch. Look, and I'm pointing that out just so we don't suffer the same fate here. I do think it's fair to debate whether or not this should be a pass. However, I do think for the most part, this line is pretty rough.
Yes. I had, like, I don't know why, I just started cracking up because I just had, like, this memory of, actually, I feel like this happens almost every time you get in the Peter Pan line, where you feel like that first beat of sweat, like 20 minutes into the queue, and you're like, oh boy, we're not even in the pit of despair yet.
No, we're not in the pit of despair yet.
Although, that's the Disneyland version.
Very much appreciate you, Lauren, for immediately taking us to task there. That was like second. First thing you said was why?
Because what else have you guys passed?
Oh God. Okay. What was the other questionable one that we passed for the smartphone
test?
There was another one that was just as bad, and it was the same argument of
almost the Matterhorn. But you actually talked me off that ledge.
I talked you off the ledge of the Matterhorn because that doesn't make any sense either.
Yeah.
I think no, that was the only other one. I think because we got so scarred by the People Mover that
which we ended up releasing before the Matterhorn, even though the Matterhorn was one of the first episodes we shot. So I was editing it and I was like, oh my God, did we fucking pass this? I was like so nervous. I'm like, oh my God, we are like, this is the I can't believe we're in. And luckily you talked me off the ledge.
We're gonna lose whatever little credibility we had.
The show almost ended that day.
Smartphone test is, this is a fail, I think. I think in my heart of hearts, this is a fail.
Yeah, I really want to reward all the creativity and all the cool interactive stuff they did with the Disney World version, but I still don't think it's enough.
It's just, it's a corner.
Well, then you add in the Disneyland queue, and the only interactive stuff is like the game that you have to play on your phone. So it literally cancels itself out.
You're right. I mean, the only thing that entertains you in the Disneyland queue is watching people try and pull that sword out of the stone.
That too, yeah.
Never seen someone do it. It does happen every now and then, though. Right? That has to happen.
Yeah, I think they have like what? They have like someone
they have like a
on
ceremony
a button or something like that, or I feel like someone controls it. I think
I've done it in Disney World, not in Disneyland.
Oh shit! Did they give you like a little hat or something?
No, like no one was there. It was early morning, so like, I have like 5 witnesses. And
rope drop the sword.
Yeah, literally.
No, that's gonna be my strategy. I'm gonna rope drop the sword. I'm gonna say
That's the way
Lauren
to
told
do
me
it.
so, and I'm just gonna stand there. I'm gonna look around, fantasy. I'm like, I don't know where you are, but no kid's gonna get the satisfaction of this moment until you let me get it first. So, chop chop.
Do you think you being able to pull the sword out of the stone, Lauren, has anything to do with your last name being Squyres? Have you thought about
I never thought of that. No, you're probably so right.
I'm asking the important questions here. You were meant for that sword.
I guess so, yeah.
And subsequently the stone as well.
The chosen one, for
You
sure.
were the chosen one. You were the chosen one! I know you're a Star Wars fan too.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, moving on here. Test number 4. We're at 1 for 3 right now. The Tony Stark test. How innovative is this attraction? Does it push theme park tech forward?
Hell yeah.
Okay, I'd love to. Oh yeah, no, it does.
I'm gonna go
Does
with
it
the pass.
though?
Look, I can't confirm that it was this like first suspended dark ride, but I don't think that ride system had ever been used before. They essentially used a company that like manufactured this sort of like, it was like for industrial purposes, like this little like monorail type
What they
system
used
to
in
move
factories,
around.
like a conveyor belt in a factory. That's what it was kind of loosely based on.
And they're like, we're gonna bolt a boat to that with passengers.
And one day that bolt's gonna
Fly it
break.
around. And then on top of it, like in comparison to all the other dark rides being made, they made 3D sets and models.
That's true. Okay. All right.
I think you combine those things. I don't know. It's a one of a kind ride experience. It came out in 1955,
And it's still going strong today.
Wait a second. Also, if this is an opening day attraction, is this the first attraction to really implement forced perspective?
That's a good question, actually.
Because it does it to great effect.
I wouldn't.
Like those buildings look enormous.
I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, you could say the castle itself and Main Street and stuff like. But in a ride,
that's all at the same time. They came out the same day.
I think this has a lot of things working for it. I don't think there are many suspended rides, if any, at that point.
What do you think, Lauren?
I'm trying to think. I can't think of anything else. I mean, besides ones that aren't suspended, like Pirates uses forced perspective, but that's not.
I feel good about passing this one then. I think we've done enough.
Yes.
I think we've done enough.
I think it's done plenty.
Okay. All right. That is 2 for 4. Moving on, test number 5, the Hollywood test. Can this attraction be adapted for the silver screen? Does it have a comprehensible story? Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
I mean, it's just based off the film.
It's based off the film. But even from
reliving.
like the dark ride nature of just showing you the highlights, you still get the entrance of like Peter Pan gets them from their bedroom, they fly out the window, they go to Neverland, they fight, they make
And it has a happy ending.
And it has a happy ending.
You are getting a full-fledged journey.
You're getting the Cliff Notes version of the film, but you are getting the full
Yeah.
Yeah,
narrative.
pass.
That's a pass. All right, moving on. 3 for 5. Test number 6, the Simpson test. How likely is this ride to be replaced with something new, a la the Back to the Future ride with the Simpsons? This will never be
Never.
replaced.
It's not.
Never.
As long as there is a Castle Park standing, there will never be a world devoid of the Peter Pan flight ride. I don't think so.
Yeah, it's in every Disney castle park except like Hong Kong. they can't really. I mean, they don't have the footprint to like really replace it with anything like substantial.
Yeah.
And it already has such a demand. It's had an insane demand for almost 70 years. So
Yeah.
there's just no way. And like they keep updating it.
Well, I also
They've done
saw
so many renovations. So that's always going to be the choice they make, I think, is to update and enhance it as opposed to
get rid of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
also, I remember seeing a lot of folks being surprised that they had done so much theming to Fantasy Springs around Peter Pan. But if you just looked at the evidence of how many people were standing in line for Peter Pan's flight, it makes a perfect amount of sense to me why they would do that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess Tokyo Disneyland is the only one I would think has a chance of being replaced just because they have it at Disney Springs now.
Fantasy Springs.
Sorry. Yeah. Fantasy Springs.
Disney Springs has a pack.
I'm sorry. I'm getting hungry. I'm going to go to
You're going to go to Gideon's.
I want to get a Gideon's or maybe stop at that Rainforest Cafe bar. So.
That's where you're going? The Rainforest Cafe?
I wanted to think of
That's
something.
your spring spot?
Realistically, Boathouse is my favorite, but
Kind of pricey. It's kind
yeah,
of
exactly. So I was thinking maybe just a Rainforest Cafe lunch burger. That's actually pricey too. Let's be real.
With
Rainforest
some
Cafe.
safari fries?
Yeah, I gives my Landry's number and everything.
Hell yeah. Very good. That's a pass. There's no way. If
Pass,
they ever replace this, there would be an uproar. I can't even
Riot,
imagine.
yeah.
I can't even. I can't imagine Disneyland without it. It's like one of those attractions. Test number 7, the signature moment test. We're at 4 for 6, by the way. The signature moment test. Can this ride hold its own without its signature moment? Is it a one-trick pony? Interesting. Indeed.
Well, the trick is the flying. I guess the.
I mean, the signature moment undoubtedly is flying over London.
Yeah.
If you take that flying scene out,
That is definitely
that's devastating.
that like in terms of like the emotional like impact, it really is in that flying over London. I think it all tumbles down.
It's greatest
It's all
asset.
great. It's all good after that, but if it didn't have,
It's just any other dark ride.
But what if it still had the flying over Neverland scene?
Yes, how you're
that's a good point. Though.
wiggling out of it. Could you really call that a separate scene?
Because you
like
think Neverland should be a more grandiose thing. I think why most people love the London thing is because that's the first thing you're flying over. So it's like the reveal of flying over something. But let's just pretend it was Neverland
didn't exist.
instead.
Yeah.
And you flew in and I think kids would still get that same.
I mean, it's still part of the same flight, though. So technically, it still is the same scene. That's like Lauren, you're going to be getting on a plane soon from Oregon to Orlando. That's like saying when you fly over, like, I don't know, Michigan or some shit like that. That's like a separate flight because it's like different from the Oregon boundaries or something. Like it's all in the same flight.
Right,
so technically, it is one flight.
But the whole ride is a
whole
flight.
flight. Yes,
I feel
okay.
like that's not
Touche. Yeah, it is a completely separate scene. I mean,
because that's probably my favorite scene.
the Neverland flyover.
Yeah, and then it's
That's the
the
thing. I could see a lot of
London
arguments
scene.
for that actually.
So if you got rid of that, you would still have London. If you got rid of London, you would still have it. Yeah, I mean,
You wouldn't have a lot of scenes. That's the thing. But once again, I guess that's not fair to the test. Like,
what do you have here, Byron? I'm gathering Lauren has it as a pass.
I'm passing it. Yeah.
I think the Neverland scene. I agree. I think the Neverland scene saves it.
Then, for posterity, I got to protect the sanctity of the show. I'm going to have it as a fail. That's right.
Disgrace.
I'm going to have it as a fail.
I thought you were gonna join the club.
No, I'm not going to join the club.
All right.
But I think you guys have made great arguments here.
Yeah. I think either. I honestly, it could really go either way. But I'm going to side with that since you still get an extensive flyover of Neverland.
It is a pass. You get. I mean, there's cool volcanoes there. They're fun to look at.
Yeah.
Moving on to the last 3 tests, we're going to find out the fate of this ride. It stands at 5 out of 7. Let's once again thank our sponsors for the last time. And we are back. Let's find out the fate of Peter Pan's flight. Moving on to test number 8. We are at 5 for 7. Test number 8. Oh, God, I'm so sorry, Lauren.
Oh no! I think I know what
every
this one
time
is.
we have look, this is the name of the test, unfortunately. This is the premature detraculation test. Does this ride finish too soon? I want to crawl out of my skin. Let's just go to the test. Look, we all know this ride does finish too soon. It's too short.
Yes.
It's too short.
That is the most common critique of this ride. Is it?
Which is crazy because it's 3 minutes.
Yeah, but if we
Allegedly.
If that was the case, we could just we would call it the 3-minute test. If the ride reached, if it has a 3-minute duration, like it passes, then that's just not how it works.
But I mean, it does cover everything. It covers everything in the story really well. So is it really too short, or is it just?
Well, what does your heart tell you?
You're wishing it would keep going.
You had mentioned yourself. You're kind of at the end, like I wish I'm a little unsatisfied after that. And
But is that a personal problem, or is that like the ride's problem?
I mean,
I think if it had a little more at the end to kind of like wind things down and get it into the pace of the beginning of the ride,
yeah,
I'd feel very different. But every time when you turn that corner back into the station,
you're kind of like, oh,
yeah, and I'm like thinking like, waited a long time for that.
Yeah, you see the sobering light, the sobering morning light spilling through as you make that turn. You're like, real? Well, I guess that's that. You know what it is too, is like, I actually watched a ride POV of this yesterday, and I think the ride POV was like 2 minutes and 20 seconds on Disneyland. So the 3-minute time, I'm skeptical of it. That's allegedly how long it is, but it definitely feels shorter than 3 minutes.
If they had like one more fly around scene at the end going through London, like coming back to London.
Oh yes, take
cool.
us back through that window.
Yeah.
Take us back to Nana.
I think that'd be good, because they just end up with the mermaids, so technically you never get home, which maybe is how they wanted it, because they want you to feel like you're in Neverland while you're at Disneyland. But
then you're just greeted by the blinding sun of reality.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I don't know. I like that ending. I think you're onto something there. They got to expand it once more. I don't know where they're going to have the room for it, but
I truly don't know where this 3-minute time is coming from. It's everywhere. 3 minutes, 2.5 over in Disney World. But if I look at ride POVs,
but I agree. I've heard that like.
Well, look at this. This is a ride POV from Document Disney. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They do great ride POV stuff. 6 months ago, 1 year ago. The 6 months ago is 2.5 minutes, and that includes some of the queue. The one from 1 year ago, that's immediately you're on the boat. That's 2 minutes.
That seems more accurate.
That seems more accurate to me. I just wanted to get that out there.
But yeah, you hear 4 minutes a lot. You like
the data says 3 minutes. Even touringplans.com, which they're usually very accurate on their ride times, they say 3 minutes. So I just don't understand where that time is coming from, because all the ride POVs I'm watching are 2 minutes essentially, and that feels more accurate of my experience.
Yeah. No, I think it does. It finishes way, way too soon.
And that's Lauren now with her head being clear after being concussed by the sail.
Yeah.
that ride was like, how long was that ride? Was it an hour? I'm not even sure. I'm gonna have to fail this. I think
it's an
in
easy,
our heart of hearts, we know it's a fail.
It's an easy fail. That's like if there's one big critique, anytime you talk to someone, it's like, I wish it was longer though.
Yeah, fail.
That's 5 for 8.
5 for 8.
Test number 9, the exit hall test. Do you see people be physically excited getting off of this ride? Do they have that bounce in their step? Are they happy?
I am. I'm like giddy after that ride.
Yeah, there is a childlike wonder that's activated when I get off of this. And kids do love this ride.
Yeah. I still kind of get bounce.
I do too.
It's wild. I don't know. Well,
I feel like some rides you're kind of drained after it, just because like if you're on it too long, and like Small World or even Pirates, you're just kind of like slowly fading out, so you get off suddenly. But this one, I feel like you're so excited and you are a kid again, and so you hop off.
I agree. I think this one actually.
I mean, you do get off the ride wanting more. So as it failed in the test number 8, I think it wins here. It gets the pass.
Also, for the target audience of this ride, this might be the biggest pass you could get on this. Because, I don't think I think you'd be hard pressed to find a ride that kids in the 6 and under range would be more excited to get off of.
Oh yeah, I was obsessed with this as a kid.
They love this ride.
Yeah.
So that's a pass. 6 for 9. We are now in debate land. But now let's move on to number 10, the fine wine test. Has this attraction aged well? Has your opinion of the attraction appreciated or depreciated since your first experience? Or if it's a new ride, do you believe it will age well? How has this ride aged to you, Lauren?
Oh, so well. I feel like it's only gotten better as I've gotten older, because when I was young, it was so magical, and now even going back, that's one of the rides I'm still like, this is still really good, and this brings all the magic back from when I was little. So I think it's aged really well.
No, and I think all the effects have aged well as well. Like, when we were covering E.T. with Jenny Nicholson, she had mentioned that like she would much prefer a ride that uses mostly practical effects as opposed to like screen technology, because there's, even when the practical effects start to show, you know, their age a little bit and get a little long in the tooth, I appreciate that more than, you know, one of the faces on the Frozen ride suddenly going out and it's like a nightmare blank face. That's
100%.
That's scary to me. But this ride, I think they've tastefully updated all of the elements of the ride with new tech. And like Byron mentioned earlier, I think they're going to continue to do that. But it's a classic. It's a day one attraction. There's not many left. And it's still drawing large weights. I think that's a testament to it.
There's no like crazy animatronics in this thing.
No.
They're just like tastefully sculpted and painted figures and
that are put in motion by other things. You know?
Yes, and they occasionally update them, but I don't think anyone has an issue. No one's like looking at it like, oh, it's so fake and stuff like that. I think it's like very tastefully done. Clearly, it still has the same demand that it always has and seems to continue going in that direction. I think it's just an obvious pass.
And I mean, like, just to further hammer it home too, I think one of the great reasons why it's an obvious pass too is like that flying scene over in London. I can't think of one thing from modern ride technology that you could add to that scene to make it a better experience.
No, yeah, absolutely not.
I mean, we had a hard time with the armchair engineering, really.
Yeah, because like it's really, I don't know how you make that scene more magical or immersive. Like each of us highlighted a different thing in that room that we liked.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you improve that. I mean, that's a testament to how good it is. All right, that's a pass. That means that's a 7 out of 10, and that Peter Pan's Flight is officially a world-class attraction. It sneaks in with the 7 out of 10 score. I guess that does it for this episode. Thank you so much, Lauren, for joining us and discussing Peter Pan's Flight. Thanks for bringing it to the table.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Is there anything that you would like to plug while you're here?
No, honestly, sure. Yeah. People It Takes podcast. I hate to plug another podcast on your own podcast.
No, it's podcastception.
Yeah.
But it's a little different.
Often.
It's just about the people it takes to make these dreams a reality, Walt's dream a reality. So
any show that highlights the people that are behind the scenes that actually keep the park alive is a worthy effort. So I hope you guys go check out that show. It's a really cool premise. And Lauren does good work over there. Also, Lauren does a lot of great content over on Instagram as well.
Yeah, if you want to check out my Instagram, it's just Lauryn Squyres, LaurynSquyres, or you can type in Disneyland Lauren. That's my old username. My name will probably pop up with that too.
I see. Oh yeah, that makes sense. When did you change that, by the way?
A month ago. Very recent.
I was about to say, like, I was like, am I tripping right now? I feel like it's still
very recent.
Okay. That does it for this episode of For Your Amusement. If you're watching, make sure to like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, or if you're listening, please rate the podcast 5 stars and subscribe as well. And once again, consider supporting us over by joining our fourth wall and becoming a park hopper, as we're calling it, by heading to fyapod.com. As mentioned up top, it'll help us keep this madness going. But you'll also get up to 3 monthly bonus shows in addition to the free main show you just watched. Also, you can find our merch there as well. Here's 10 names of park hoppers we'd like to thank: Erica, Natalia, Brian Hyde, Raging Wolf Bob, Ethan Weenus, Namra, TC Ogan, Optimus Preen, Ashley Shin, and Coasters and Treats. Follow the pod socials at FYA Pod everywhere. I'm Ryan, at Ryan Bergara everywhere but Twitter, where I'm at Ryan S. Bergara, because at Ryan Bergara was taken by another Ryan Bergara in the Philippines. And Byron is at Byron A. Marin across all socials. Thank you guys for spending your time with us. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you all on the next ride. Bye-bye.